All right, let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room before we start. I want to make this very clear. This is not a Ray Rice jersey. This is my guy, J.K. Dobbins, Ravens legend, now Broncos legend. I wanted to give a shout out to the Broncos, show my appreciation for them knocking off the Bills. So just so we're clear, I'm not endorsed. I promise you, I had a Ray Rice shirt back in the day, and then the incident happened, and I threw that shirt out. I never wore it again. So now we're rocking J.K. Dobbins in honor of the Broncos. And I see you have also made a big investment yourself.
Kyle Pitts, future Giant.
He's one.
It's in.
He's going to the Chiefs, and you know it.
I don't know. He's going to be a Giant.
He's going to the Chiefs.
New
So
York Giants.
so the divisional round of the playoffs is in the books. We are down to four teams. I believe you are 3 for 4 on your picks. I am 2 for 4 because I didn't think CJ Stroud would be that bad, but he was that bad. So we both have Seattle and the Rams right. You have Seattle and the Rams and the Patriots. So we're going to go over every game in the divisional round of the playoffs. And I have a whole lot to say about the first game that happened.
I picked Denver.
You did?
Yeah, I picked Denver.
Before the play?
Yeah,
You had Broncos
yeah,
Patriots?
yeah,
Oh, you're 4 for 4.
yeah. I'm four
Okay, so
for
you're
four.
just better
Yeah,
than me. That's just fantastic.
yeah. I know.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, we're gonna have a lot. That's why you lost the Tom Brady draft. Anyway, we have a lot to say, or I have a lot to say about the first game that took place, and it was Buffalo and Denver. And I haven't really said this on the show yet because I felt like it wasn't appropriate, but I really, really don't like the Bills. I haven't for a couple of years. People who know me kind of know that, but I think the other day after that loss, I finally found the right words. I found the right way to put it into words. The way the Buffalo Bills reacted after that loss, a 33-30 loss in overtime, in which their MVP quarterback turned it over 4 times and literally gave Denver a field goal at the end of the half when he lateraled the ball to a ghost and gave them a field goal at half, and they lost again. There was no Kansas City, and there was no. I don't know if there's another bit I was going to include, but the main part of it is there was no Kansas City in their way. They didn't have to deal with the boogeyman. And I don't think anyone in the organization would admit this, but I think deep down they felt like this was the year because they weren't going to have to see the Chiefs. No, I don't think anyone would admit it in that organization, at least nowadays, at least now. Maybe in 10 years, one of them will go on a podcast and they'll talk about it. But I think they thought this was the year because there was no Kansas City and they lost again. And the way they reacted to the loss perfectly encapsulates why I can't stand the Bills. Because people say it's because they beat the Ravens twice in the playoffs, and that's a piece of the puzzle. If I said that had nothing to do with it, I'd be a liar. But it's not the main reason. I don't hate the Patriots, believe it or not. I know it was cool to hate the Patriots. I never really did, even though the Ravens and Patriots had 4 battles in the playoffs when Flacco was around, and they were great games. 2 of them were Ravens blowout wins, and 2 of them were tight Patriots wins. But I never hated the Patriots. So the fact that the Bills have beaten the Ravens in the playoffs, it's a part of it, obviously. And obviously another part of it is Josh Allen stealing Lamar Jackson's MVP, which this season's data has shown that the reasoning for him winning it last year is complete nonsense. So those are pieces of the puzzle, but I don't hate football teams because of that alone. But the way they handled this loss, I'm not kidding. It's a bad look for the franchise. And this isn't just fans on Twitter. Every time there's a controversy after a game, because for some reason people are convinced that Brandon Cooks caught the ball, which he didn't. We're actually not going into that. If anyone with IQ over 80, the catch rules aren't that complicated. He didn't catch the ball. He didn't survive the ground. It's Calvin Johnson. It's Des Bryant. It's Jesse James. It's the same call every time, and it's not similar to when Xavier Hutchinson of the Texans caught the ball, took 4 steps, and then had his knee down and lost the ball and went, how is this a catch? If you think that unironically, stop talking football. And it's not the same as when Devontae Adams against the Bears caught the ball, had full possession, did the football move or whatever, survived the ground, and then his knee was down and then lost the ball. That's a catch. But since Brandon Cooks bobbled the ball after he went down, it's not a catch. And the fact that that's so hard to understand for so many people really bothers me. And what extra bothers me is how hard it is for the franchise to understand. Because again, this isn't just fans. The national media, who we'll get to later, players and coaches. It's such a bad look for them to act the way they did. From Deion Dawkins posting screenshots on Twitter like it's a conspiracy, from Tre'Davious White, who made an ass out of himself by committing the game-losing pass interference, and then made an ass out of himself again by spiking his helmet in front of the referee for another penalty, and then made an ass out of himself a third time when he said the refs don't know ball in the locker room after the game. Not just typical Buffalo, never taking accountability, to their head coach, well, now former head coach, going to the podium and giving up that standing up for Buffalo nonsense, and then the Buffalo Bills team account retweeting it, not retweeting it, posting it, and then someone who has an MVP vote retweeting it. That's a bad look. And that encapsulates why I don't like the Bills, because they don't just lose. They act like losers. Not just this year, but historically, they act like losers. They lose to Kansas City in the 13-second game. The overtime rules are unfair. We need to change the overtime rules. They changed the overtime rules. They're 0-3 in overtime since then, by the way. They lose to Kansas City in the championship last year. And the rules, we swear Josh Allen got the first down on the tush push. And this, I don't remember if it was a catch that they thought should have been a pick or the other way around, but we got robbed on this, and the rules aren't fair. So they changed the rules again and add the automated measuring system that they did this year. They petitioned to ban the tush push and then run the tush push more than any other team in the league. And then they lose on Saturday, and it's because they thought Brandon Cooks caught it. They literally, and again, if this was just fans, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Fans are emotional. I'm emotional. If I was a Bills fan in the heat of the moment, I would have been upset. But I'm very confident that after I looked at it again, I would have been, oh, the ball bobbled. It's not a catch. Unfortunate. But they don't just lose. They act like losers. And this kind of gets into my next point. Every franchise, let me put it this way. Every franchise kind of has a vibe. You know what I mean? The Green Bay Packers, they're in a tiny city, probably the smallest city of any North American sports team. There's probably one hotel in the whole city. But they're embracing like the old school culture. It's outdoors, it's cold weather, the fans sit in bleachers and freeze half to death, but they love the Packers. And the Packers historically, Lombardi, Bart Starr, Favre, or at least the image Favre portrayed when he was playing, they're these tough, gritty football players. The Patriots, it's the Patriot way. Do your job, don't try to be the hero. We play as a team, we win. And even the Cleveland Browns, okay, I don't necessarily like the Browns either because I'm a fan of a division rival, but the team is losers, but the city and the fans, like, they wear it on their sleeve. You know what I mean? They embrace the fact that they're losers, and it's just who they are. And they say, we stink, they're bums, but they're our bums. And one day they're going to get it right, and we're going to be there. That's kind of the vibe the Browns have. The vibe the Bills give, it's excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse. And that's why they really bother me, like, as a franchise. Because the Bills team account posted a video after a playoff loss of their now former head coach they fired like 24 hours later or 36 hours later, blaming the officials. And you have players, ironically everyone but Josh Allen himself, blaming officials. And there's Buffalo people selling shirts. I don't know if you saw it. Cooks caught it. They're selling shirts. They're
ridiculous.
They're a loser franchise. Buffalo can hate Jerry Coleman all they want for that quote he made last year, the Baltimore reporter, but he's completely right. They're a city of losers. So I was rooting for Denver. I'm glad Buffalo lost, and I'm happy for the Broncos. I'm happy for their fans who haven't seen a playoff win in, I think, a decade. And I was thrilled for and then devastated for Bo Nix because what happened to him stinks. I'll get to the media in a second, but all the pity that's being directed at Josh Allen should be directed at Bo Nix because he won. TJ Ward, former Bronco, said it best. Bo Nix won the game, and he can't play next week because of an injury that's not his fault. And he doesn't get to finish this season that I don't know if the Broncos will have again because a lot of their success is kind of circumstantial. They got pretty lucky to be the 1 seed, right? And that the Chiefs had the down year and they won so many one-score games. This season for the Broncos was kind of a perfect storm, and it's probably over. It's not for sure. Jarrett Stidham could turn it into Nick Foles, but Bo Nix had this moment taken from him on like the second to last play that mattered, and then threw the dagger pass on a fractured ankle. Like, hardcore salute. I was kind of hard on Bo Nix. I take back what I said at the Jalen Hurts video. I'm taking Nix. I'm officially a Bo leaver. So that's my guy. But I'll give you a few minutes if you have something to say about all of this controversy, and then I'll get into my kind of next
Yeah.
about the Bills.
Yeah, the whole Brandon Cooks catch. It's just like it is kind of it's irritating to see so many people saying it was a terrible call when it just simply wasn't. I'll keep it. It was a pick. It was an interception.
It's definitely not a catch.
It's not a catch. And the Bill, and this isn't really that on topic, but the Bills receiving core is such a mess. It's like you're relying on the ghost of Brandon Cooks.
I'm sorry, for as bad as they are, they were running around wide open a lot.
They really were.
I honestly, I'm not directing this at you because I know you don't have like a favorite here. For people who are like in the Bills corner say that, I honestly don't want to hear it. They ran around wide open a lot.
Surtain got hurt.
Was it Knox or Kincaid who at the end of regulation open? Allen missed him.
It was probably. I think it was Kincaid.
I honestly don't want to hear it about the receiving core. They were good. Yeah. They did their job.
I wasn't talking about this game necessarily. I just meant their situation as a whole. Like, it's just funny to me that it's like they're bringing in Brandon Cooks. Like, that's such like a 2018
Amari
headline.
Cooper.
Yeah.
Like 2 years ago. Like, really?
But I don't have anything against the Bills, but there are certain Bills fans that annoy me. Like, I saw a lot of people online, like an alarming amount of Bills fans saying it was cosmic justice that Bo's ankle broke, and just nonsense like that. It's a sport. It's a sport. It's entertainment, and also just that was a really dumb play call. The play he got hurt, like that quarterback draw to the left. Why did they call that? Why would they call that? You're marching down the field to kick a field goal in overtime in the playoffs. Why are you doing a quarterback draw? Yeah, that was and they lost yardage too. It's like I think it set them back a few yards, and also just Bills fans really do have levels of cope like no other. Like
the most insane victim complex I've ever seen. They're worse than the Browns.
I feel like the Browns own it though. Like you were saying, they have fun with being losers. Like they're always
the parade they did when they went 0-16 was really funny.
People jumping into the river.
I respect the fans a lot for that. That was funny.
Yeah. And what was like the worst, like maybe the worst cope I've ever seen in sports was this one particular Bills fan, and I forgot how I knew them and how I was speaking to them. But they said that they personally looked at the Super Bowl against the Giants as a win because the kicker shouldn't have missed the field goal, and it was basically a win. They were going up against like the Giants backups. We had like Phil. It wasn't Phil Simms playing. It was our backup. Hostetler. It was Jeff Hostetler. It was OJ Anderson at running back. It was a bunch of some other backups. We had some other injuries I can't remember off the top of my head, but the Bills had no business losing that game. They should not have been in a position to rely on a Scott Norwood field goal.
Can I throw this out there real quick?
Well, yeah.
This Buffalo fan is saying they basically won because they shouldn't have missed a kick. From 40 to 49 yards out, you know what Scott Norwood's percentage is in his career?
Let me know. What is it?
60%. So
that's not great. Not good.
That guy wipe that away. That makes no sense.
Yeah. It was BS. But no, I agree with everything you said. They're just not. I think they're one of those like I don't think they'll ever win a Super Bowl. I just don't like the French. They're just not going to. Yeah, no, they're just not going to. The thing is, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that stuff. I just don't think they're ever going to. There's just
Right.
nothing
They're because
to
they're
me.
losers.
They are losers,
In
but
the
and they should
70s,
embrace it.
yeah, in the 70s, OJ Simpson was before he was this amazing player. They lost with him. In the 90s, their legacy is losing 4 Super Bowls in a row.
Yeah,
Then for I think 17 straight years, no playoffs. And now
yeah,
they're the eternal bridesmaid to Patrick Mahomes. They're
yeah. The
losers.
other when you were talking about the bit from earlier when you were thinking of like you were like they lost to the Chiefs and who else? The other team was the Bengals.
Yeah.
Like there was a graphic show that they showed where it was like he was 0-6 in the playoffs against the Chiefs and Bengals and then undefeated against everybody else.
Right.
But now he's lost to 3 teams. So it's like what can you say now?
And there was no Mahomes.
Yeah, no
I don't
Mahomes.
I don't think anyone in Buffalo was like no Joe Burrow. When people I see us on Twitter a lot, they're always like no Mahomes, no Lamar, no Burrow. I'm like, okay, Mahomes not being in the playoffs is crazy. Lamar not being in
Yeah.
the playoffs is pretty weird. It's only the second miss of his career. This is
Yeah.
Joe Burrow's third straight playoff miss. He's made it twice in 6 years. So
Yeah.
anyway, shout out to Joe Burrow, by the way. Did you see what he
Yeah.
tweeted?
I did. Yeah,
So
I did.
he's reading all that stuff. He
Yeah.
ended his Twitter hiatus. His
Oh yeah, he
hiatus on
was
Twitter.
inactive. He was
Just had to
inactive
quit
for a while.
complaining. But
Yeah.
is there a more is there anything more loser behavior in the world than whining about the overtime rules and whining about being cheated against the Chiefs all the time and then having an overtime game in a postseason where there's no Chiefs and you lose anyway?
They're out of excuses.
Jerry Coleman is right. They're a city of losers. That's who they
Yeah.
are at their core. It even goes to the hockey team because the Sabres seem to have finally gotten it right. I don't know if they're in a playoff spot right now.
I think they're in the bottom wild
This is
card
the best
spot.
season the Sabres have had in like a decade. I mean,
Yeah, it's been a long time.
the Sabres might actually be decent again, but and then that gets into the next thing I wanted to say about Buffalo, and then I'll be done ranting about the Bills. We can get into the actual football of it all. I think like I said earlier, I think the one person who handled that loss with grace and class is Josh Allen himself. He went up to the podium and said, I let my teammates down because he knows he let his teammates down and he's right. And obviously he's human. People are like theorizing. I see people theorizing he's just going to retire and he's so upset because he knows I don't know that for a second. But I do think part of it is because there was no Kansas City. But that kind of leads into the national media segment of this, if you will. The way people talk about Josh Allen, who is a fantastic player, I'm not denying that. He's at worst the third best quarterback in the league. He's probably first or second. I'm not denying that. And he's a great face for the NFL. He's a good like brand ambassador. But he's the most coddled athlete I've ever seen in my life. I can't say all time because I'm 22 years old. I wasn't there in the 80s and 90s when it was Larry Bird and Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan. I mean, the NBA reveres them so much. It's kind of weird. But in my life, I've never seen a more coddled athlete. If any other, I know people want me to make this about Lamar, but I won't make it specifically about him, but he can be part of it. If any other quarterback, whether it is Lamar or Jalen Hurts or Justin Herbert or Dak Prescott, quarterbacks that are under the eye, if they have a playoff game where they turn the ball over 4 times and you miss the kill shot at the end of regulation and you lose in overtime while benefiting from the rules that you whined about because you were so upset that Josh Allen didn't get the ball in OT against the Chiefs, they're getting ripped apart. If that was Dak Prescott, he would get killed, okay? If that was Herbert or Lamar or Jalen, if that was Jalen Hurts, oh my goodness, like I would fear for his safety if that was Jalen Hurts. Instead, that was Josh Allen, who I believe is now 8 what's his playoff record? I want to say he's 8-8. I might be wrong. Or 8-7, whatever it is. This is some of the stuff I saw said about him. And this isn't just people on Twitter. This is people who get paid to talk about this for a living. We have, this is a guy with a podcast, calls him the Aaron Judge of the NFL and says, best player, no help. Like James Cook didn't run for 119 yards. Mike Greenberg, one of the most prominent voices in sports media. Mike Greenberg just said he hasn't seen anyone play quarterback better in the last 50 years than Josh Allen. Are we serious? This is after a 4-turnover loss against a Broncos team that a lot of people thought were fraudulent. And a lot of people, myself included, thought Buffalo was going to win. Then you have Cam Newton, who is a little nuts, but Cam Newton's the one person saying we're tiptoeing around the obvious issue. Chase Daniel, former NFL quarterback, forget all the turnovers. This is the one throw he'll want back all offseason, and it's the miss at the end of regulation. Feel absolutely awful for Josh Allen. Seems like the same. Why? Why did you feel bad for Bo Nix?
Yeah,
Why
no one's talking about him.
someone on NFL Network gave him like a pep talk? You have on, I think, Get Up, the show with Mike Greenberg. I saw there's multiple quotes as calling him the best player in the league. Like, it's the consensus now. Dan Orlovsky's been getting fried on Twitter recently, and I'm not gonna make fun of him that hard because he already has it tough enough already. But during the recap, they're showing the Josh Allen lateral to nobody, and Dan Orlovsky is blaming the lineman who didn't dive on the ball correctly.
Yeah, I saw that.
I think Dan Orlovsky is just very pro quarterback in general. I don't think it's specifically Josh Allen, but it's because he played quarterback.
I like him.
I don't think he's stupid. I think when Dan Orlovsky is breaking down film objectively, I think he's a smart guy. Like, obviously he knows the sport. He played it for a living at the highest level. But he's sitting there. You should not be sitting here going, I can't believe the lineman didn't jump in that ball properly. I get you. That's a bad mistake by Josh Allen, but look at this lineman not diving on the ball. I've never seen an athlete in my life get coddled like this. And it's a little insulting to like the average viewer who sees people. Peyton Manning got torn to shreds when he couldn't get past Tom Brady. He was the choker. Aaron Rodgers gets ripped to this day for not being good enough in the postseason. And the sports media historically has been very harsh. Hard on athletes, especially NFL quarterbacks. And the stuff I see about Josh Allen, it's insulting. I can't believe he gets caught. I'm stuttering because I'm actually running out of things to say. I don't get it. He turned it over 4 times. They've changed rules for you multiple times, and then you went into overtime and you lost again. And James Cook ran for 119 yards on about 4.9 a clip. James Cook had a fantastic game, and people go on television and say Josh Allen has to do everything. You're lying. You're flat out lying. But anyway,
not to mention they also, and I actually didn't realize this, but they had stats wise the best pass defense this year. I didn't realize that. I saw someone make a good point that it probably partly has to do with their run defense being so bad that teams primarily just ran against them. Like, when I was watching the Bills, because I watched a few Bills games this year, there was no point, like full Bills games, I mean, not like, you know what I mean. At no point was I like, wow, this pass defense is amazing. Yeah. Like, not once.
Over and over.
Yeah, no, just not one time was I like you can go back in the pods. Like, I was saying that I think the Bills' downfall is going to be their defense, which I thought was a liability. But then I was like, wait, they have the number 1 ranked pass defense. That makes sense. But then you look at their run defense, and they're like so much worse than so many other teams. It's like, oh, teams are just running the ball on them. That's why they're allowing so few yards because people aren't throwing. But that's not this. But they clearly have some talent there. So that's even more points. That's even more of a point to say it's not just Josh Allen.
It's not like fair. I just want fairness.
It's not like the coaching staff was like incapable. It's not like Sean McDermott is this horror. Like, sure, he got fired. Like, sure, maybe he's not the guy, but it's not like he's this horrible coach that's holding back his quarterback.
I thought Buffalo's adjustments in the second half were great.
They kept it. it was a competitive game down to the wire. And like the week before, they went into enemy territory against a team that, in my opinion, was better, and they still won.
Yeah. I
So
thought
it's
Joe Brady had a great
yeah.
postseason. I thought he was great in both games.
Hmm.
They had a screen pass that would have been a touchdown if Josh Allen didn't one hop it.
Yeah.
So, and since you brought up McDermott, we'll kind of pivot to him. And this is the part where I
Hmm.
try to be more level headed about Buffalo. But the instant reaction of Buffalo firing Sean McDermott was that it kind of felt like a desperate move necessarily. Because I get Buffalo, they felt they need to change something because it's been 8 years running and it's not working. They haven't gotten out of the AFC yet. I really think they fired the wrong guy, and I seem to be in the majority. I think they should have moved off of Bean and given McDermott per, perhaps a better roster to work with because the Buffalo Bills haven't had a dynamic elite outside receiver since they lost Diggs. The all the little additions, MBS, Amari Cooper, Brandon Cooks, Curtis Samuel, they didn't work. They picked Keon Coleman. The very next pick was Lad McConkey. That's just a miss. So because we looked at this going into the year, we're like, this Bills roster isn't very scary, other than a few pieces. One of them obviously being Josh Allen himself. But we look at all these players, they keep drafting in the first round, and they're not panning out. I don't know if it's bad talent, if they're not developing. I feel like they're just not picking the right players. So I would have let Bean go and found a new GM. Instead, Bean gets a promotion. Bean's the president now, and now he gets the say in who the head coach is going to be. So it really feels like you can give your take on it, but it really feels like Buffalo let the wrong guy go.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have much to say on the Bills because I feel like I've voiced all my kind of opinions. They just don't have the receivers, and they don't have the front seven. and,
And
and that's
yeah,
not McDermott's fault.
yeah,
It's not his fault in any way. They don't have it doesn't matter how good Josh Allen is. It's like you have all these kind of C to like low B tier level guys catching for him. It's like he can't do everything.
and Ed
So
Oliver was
yeah.
injured and returned for the playoff game. He definitely wasn't
Eh,
100%.
he didn't finish the game.
Yeah,
I
so
don't think he did.
it
Yeah.
was even worse when you don't have Ed Oliver.
Yeah.
And we can kind of McDermott can be blamed for past defeats with when their defense was good. Because
Yeah.
in the 13-second game, Buffalo's defense was, I think, number one in the league. They had one of the league's top defenses. And against, I understand it's the prime cheese of Mahomes, Hill, and Kelsey, and they're on the road. They couldn't get off the field straight up. And McDermott can be held accountable for that. But I feel like this postseason, I feel like he did his job. I would have let
Yeah.
I would have let Bean go. But that's enough in the Bills. That might have been that literally might have been half an hour on the Bills. We
Yeah.
can kind of pivot to we'll have a quick tidbit on the Broncos. I guess we have to discuss if the Broncos can win without Bo Nix because he fractured his ankle on the second to last play that mattered in overtime for Denver, and he's out for the year. The new quarterback is Jarrett Stidham, ironically, a former Patriot who will be hosting the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. We'll get to that when we do. But you can have the floor first. Jarrett Stidham against the Patriots. Do you think they have a shot?
Call me crazy. I don't think it's impossible. I want to compare. I want to make my how do I put my comparison? How do I make this make sense? Um,
Are you talking about Foles?
yeah, no. I'm not talking about Foles. I'm trying to say that I want to compare the Broncos defense, which is a top defense, to the Texans, which is the top defense. But they're right there. They're both really, really good. Um, the Patriots still didn't play a fantastic game against Houston, and that may have been the worst game of CJ Stroud's career.
That's one of the worst games I've ever seen. Period.
in yeah
of any quarterback ever.
yeah
That was like
any
Peterman.
quarter
That was
that was
Peterman
really
level.
yeah. So I think if Stidham can just not be if he could just not be a liability and be like a super average, not even 1% above average game manager, maybe even like a little lower than average. I actually think they have a shot because I think Harvey is also going to be back. Hopefully their defense is gonna. Hopefully their defense is gonna kind of get it together because they didn't play fantastic against the Bills, but
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I saw
not.
a tweet that said the Texans defense whenever on the sideline is Richard Sherman after Malcolm Butler picked the ball. Richard
Yeah,
Sherman going, no,
yeah. He looked like he was about to burst into
the
tears.
Texans
Yeah,
defense. Sorry, continue.
but yeah, I definitely I'm still gonna pick the Patriots, but I don't think people should just completely count out Denver. I
I
think that
don't.
there's some type of chance. I think what we saw in that game, Texans Patriots, I think that was more of a Texans loss than a Patriots win, if that
I
makes
agree.
sense.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily disagree because it's not just the Texans game. They didn't look great against the Chargers either.
No.
The offense was honestly pretty horrible for the majority of the game. The
Yeah.
Patriots, and honestly, Drake May, as great of a season as he had and as great as he is, has not been impressive in these playoffs. I feel like a good offense gets them in either of the first two games. I think the Chargers could have gotten them with a good offense, and the Texans could have gotten them with an okay offense. So I do kind of get what you're saying, where I'm still going to pick the Patriots too. I do think there's a universe where Denver pulls this off because they're at home. I want to say they might be getting my guy Dobbins back, or at least they think they can, and they think they can get Harvey back. It's still a great defense. Cortland Sutton, he's kind of like prime AJ Brown light, where he has a good catch radius. He's a guy you can kind of lean on to make a play with limited quarterback play. They have a great offensive line. I think Denver can win. I would give Denver like a 1-3 shot of winning that game. I really don't think it's impossible. I
Yeah.
would pick them straight up if they had Knicks, but with Stidham, I do think if he can play the Phil Simms role of being, or like the Alex Smith role of the ultimate, just don't lose you the game, protect the ball, no turnovers, don't give the Patriots short fields, because that was the key for them in more so the Chargers game, or maybe I'm getting them mixed up. The key was the Patriots creating turnovers and getting shorter fields. So I think if the Broncos play it ultra safe, play their offense like it's the 1980s, be willing to punt on fourth and short, pin the Patriots deep, I think they can win with defense. I'm
Yeah.
thinking like a 24 to 17 or 24 to 20 game that I think goes the Patriots' way, but I don't disagree with you when you say like the Broncos, we should just write them off.
Yeah.
So with all of that out of the way, let's pivot to the rest of the games in this playoff window. Next, since we were talking about the Patriots, we'll talk about them and the Houston Texans. And we kind of alluded to this earlier, but I agree with what you said a few minutes ago, where it was more of a Texans loss than it was a Patriots win. Because I feel like the Patriots, as an offense, were nothing special, right? I think in these playoffs as a whole, they weren't that spectacular, but they've managed to win both games because the teams they were up against, and specifically the offenses they were up against, just didn't know what they were doing. And like you said about Stroud, and like I said about Stroud, that I mean, I have it written down in my notes here. Stroud vomit because that was that's one of the worst playoff performances I think I've ever seen. I don't know what happened to rookie year Stroud, who looked like a new franchise guy, but I think it was 4 interceptions in the first half and overall recklessness, completely sabotaging a defense that is outstanding. And I think with slightly above average quarterback play, could have made it to the Super Bowl. I really do think with like Dak Prescott, they're winning this. They're at least making the Super Bowl. I'd give them good odds to win it. And that kind of leads into our next bit where I'll hand the reins over to you is where do the Texans go from here? Have you seen enough from Stroud to where you're willing to move off of him? Because as of now, that $250 million extension is out the window. There's no way he gets that now.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is, do we give Stroud, if you're Houston, do we give him one more year to see if he can find his rookie self? Or do we think they've seen enough to where he's not the answer?
It's kind of tricky, but I think you got to give him another year, or at least part of the season. If he's playing like this, like 4 or 5 weeks in, then yeah, you gotta have some sort of action because it's not acceptable, especially in the playoffs. But the question is that like what do they do at quarterback if it turns out Stroud isn't the guy? Because especially this free agent class, there isn't really anyone significant. Is there? I can't think of someone off the top of my head. Is there any big name quarterback entering the market?
I wouldn't say in free agency. There might be like fringe guys available for trade. I'm sure Kyler Murray is available for the right price, but I don't
Yeah,
know if you want to bet. I don't know if you want
but
to give
is
assets for Kyler Murray.
or Kyler?
Um, in terms of like
Uh,
really good quarterbacks that are available, I none that I can think of because I think a
yeah,
lot. I think they're all under contract. If the
yeah,
Texans had gotten Stafford when the
yeah,
Rams got Stafford, I think they'd have a ring
yeah,
by now. I do, or at least I think they'd be getting one this year.
yeah.
So
I think
it's
what
just weird.
I I think what could be helpful for Stroud is to just bring in another quarterback. Like like let's say the Texans do go out and they sign, I don't know, like Malik Willis, like someone who showed who had a few good games, who showed he could maybe warrant a second chance at being a starter. That maybe just like maybe you gotta if you're the Texans front office, you might have to light a fire under Stroud's ass. He kind of make him have to get it together, bring in another guy.
Because when I
um
watched that game, I'm dead serious at halftime. I was like, put in Davis Mills. Just do it.
I think they should have,
Rip the
unironically,
band-aid
I think
off.
they
I
should
know you
have.
don't want to. D'Amico
Yeah,
Ryans, you're a great coach. Rip the band-aid. Put in Davis Mills. I think if
he is
Mills
a
played
good coach.
quarterback, I give him a coin flip chance.
Yeah, I think they would have had a better shot. I would
I
like
mean, they had
because
a shot with how
Stroud,
Stroud was playing. They were in that
yeah,
game
that's what I mean.
until
Yeah.
Booty made the catch. That crazy catch that was sick, and that was kind of the dagger. But
Yeah.
they had a chance. By the way, breaking
Yeah.
news. I'm going to interrupt real quick. We have breaking news. Baseball Hall of Fame members of 2026: Carlos Beltran and Andrew Jones. Congratulations to them, new Baseball Hall of Famers. I don't know what took. I don't know why it took Andrew Jones so long to make the Hall of Fame. He's the greatest defensive center fielder ever, hit 400 homers. What took so long? But
Nobody gets
anyway,
into the baseball Hall of Fame.
yeah. But anyway, shout out to those guys. Anyway, shout out to those guys. And I don't know if you had a point you were going on, but continue if you want.
On the Texans or the baseball Hall of Fame?
The Texans.
On
That's
the
what
Texans.
I just got that
That's a
notification. That's what to say.
that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
No, I think that they should bring in another quarterback, not not to replace Stroud necessarily right this second, but give him some competition.
Joe Flacco.
Yeah, Joe Flacco,
Why
he's the
not?
man. Flacco's the man. Why
I
not?
also think
Yeah,
Davis Mills is like not.
he's
He's on the caliber of
how.
quarterback to where if your starter got hurt and Davis Mills is the guy you're replacing him with, you're like, okay, we're not completely screwed,
Yeah, we're
right?
not screwed.
He's one of
Yeah,
the better backups. I'm
yeah,
also dead serious. I'm not. You're gonna laugh, Will Levis. I'm telling you. I'm not
yeah.
saying he's great. There's something. I just think there's something there
Hmm.
that resembles a competent quarterback. But
Yeah,
anyway, there's not weirdly enough, there's not much else to say about Houston other than the Xavier Hutchinson
yeah,
catch and then fumble that was overturned that for some reason Buffalo fans want to get into, but we've already talked about Buffalo. I'm not
yeah,
going into that again.
yeah.
But we can kind of pivot to the New England Patriots. and how I don't like to use the phrase Mickey Mouse because that kind of became popular with like the bubble and the Lakers, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
If the Patriots win the Super Bowl, I'm not calling it Mickey Mouse, but is it worth critiquing how easy their schedule has been? Because I believe I have it saved of the win loss record of the opponents they faced this season.
Yeah.
And if
I
I could
think
find it, go ahead.
I think that it's kind of hard because it's not like they chose their schedule, but then at the same time, they're beating teams that, have like they're not beating very they're not beating any good teams. They're playing in a very weak division. They basically have four free games. They had four free games this season by default. They played they played the Bengals, they played the Falcons, they played did they play the entire NFC South?
I think so. Yes,
Yeah,
they played Atlanta. They played Carolina and blew them. I think they blew them out. They didn't blow them out, but they won. Did they play New Orleans and Atlanta and Tampa?
they
They
played
play
Atlanta.
Tampa. Yeah, so I
They
think they
played
did play the
Atlanta.
whole. I think they did play the whole, and then they played the
Yeah,
AFC North, which turns out wasn't a very good division
yeah. Beat the
considering how the Ravens
Brown.
were.
Yeah. But
They did play the
I
whole. Yeah, they
think
did play that
they
division,
did play. Yeah,
and they swept it.
yeah. I think it's I think you definitely have to, kind of question how good the Patriots actually are. If they beat the Seahawks, then I'll be like,
Yeah, he's
tops
got to
off.
wear it.
Yeah, Patriots, you did it. You guys are legit. But you have to look at, okay, the offense struggled in the wild card game against the Chargers team with no offensive line. They had so many chances and they only put up how many points did they score?
16.
Was it
The
16? Yeah.
Patriots. Yeah,
Yeah, the Patriots. Yeah.
they
They
held the
scored
Chargers to
16.
three.
Yeah, they held the Chargers with no offensive line to 3 points and only scored 16. They they were kept in a pretty competitive game against a quarterback who had the worst performance of his career, and that they could have very easily lost that game. Even with Stroud playing like that, it's
I
very
think
possible.
the Patriots at 21 because they had a pick six. That's their defense.
Hmm.
So 21. I mean, honestly, with the Houston defense, 21 is not terrible. It's not
But
like you stink.
they
You
don't
know what? Here's what
no,
we're gonna
they
do.
were on the field a lot. All I'm saying
Yeah,
is that there
let's
were,
look at the play by play. I need to see how many if they had short fields, but continue.
yeah. And then if they beat Denver, you beat a backup quarterback. You're going to beat a guy who hasn't played since 2023.
Yeah.
So
So
it's
their first
like,
touchdown was they started at the 34, so normal.
yeah.
Then they started from the the 20. Okay, this is Houston's field goal drive. Then Houston scored a touchdown, and then the pick six.
Hmm.
Then they started from their own 40. They started from their 44. That's another short field.
Hmm.
Then they started from the 20, and then the 29 like normal. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think the short fields argument really applies. I think their
Yeah.
offense against an amazing Houston defense was fine.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll take 21 points against that defense and that Houston offense. 21 is probably going to be enough for you to win with
Yeah.
how they played on offense. So, but this is the stat with the Patriots. I
Yeah.
typically, in this instance, am not a big fan of pulling the schedule card. Typically, because you always play somebody, right? But the Patriots the record of the Patriots opponents this year combined, guess what it is?
Uh, Not good. What is it?
85 wins and 150 losses.
Wow.
You get to point that out and go,
Yeah.
and because again, I think we talked about this when we did our playoff picks. I'm looking at their schedule. They lost to the Raiders, which is crazy in week
Yeah.
one.
Hmm.
Miami, Pittsburgh, Carolina, Buffalo twice, New Orleans, Tennessee, Cleveland, Atlanta, Tampa, who was in free fall out in November, New
Yeah.
York Jets, Cincinnati, the Giants, Buffalo again, the Ravens, the Jets and the Dolphins like that. I mean, I don't think it's unfair. I don't think fraudulent is the right word because you are in the AFC Championship.
They're
and you've
there.
won
Yeah.
and you've won two playoff games. But I don't think it's unfair to look at that schedule and kind of critique how good you are in comparison to other conference championship
Yeah.
teams in this era.
Yeah. And the thing is that we haven't like the that argument kind of applies in a sense to the teams that they've played because of these teams glaring holes because of the Chargers the Chargers struggles and CJ Stroud. And not to mention there was no Nico Collins. Schultz got hurt kind of he got hurt before halftime, I think.
I think so,
I think
yeah.
Dalton Schultz was pulled before halftime. Marks missed a few drives.
Yeah, just
Because he went back in, but I think he missed a couple of drives. So, Christian Kirk is your top receiver. I don't even know. I don't know the number two tight end. You have washed up Nick Chubb,
do they have
and you got
Ferguson?
CJ Stroud.
Am I crazy? Am I
I
crazy
don't.
for thinking they have Jake Ferguson or is he in the
Oh,
Am
I
I
don't know.
am I brain farting to like the I'm totally
Jake
brain farting.
Ferguson? No,
Jake
he's on
Ferguson's
the
not on the Texans. What am I
no.
talking about? I'm sorry. Forget what I said.
So, they're playing, the Patriots defense. It's not like it was just CJ Stroud that cost them. They're missing their number one receiver. They're missing their starting tight end. On top of Stroud playing that horribly.
Brevin Jordan. I remember really liking him out of Miami. I think he's a decent
Mm-hmm.
player, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I agree. It's so many injuries on top of
Yeah.
Stroud. So I don't
Yeah.
think, but I will give him credit for being fine against a ferocious Houston defense. I mean, they
Yeah.
made everyone's life miserable.
Yeah. They've made it
So
this far.
yeah,
They're in
and
the AFC Championship,
I
and
give them
it's
good odds against the Broncos because of no quarterback. But
yeah.
I do think if they get to the Super Bowl and it's Seattle, they're getting blitzed. I mean, I
I
think that
hope
could get
so.
ugly.
I hope so.
So, yeah, so that's kind of all we have to say on those two teams. Let's pivot to the 49ers and the Seahawks since I brought up Seattle.
Yeah.
Um, Weirdly enough, there's not much to say about this game at all because it was over by the end of the first
Yeah.
quarter. Oddly enough, Shaheed ran the kickback. The Seahawks could have not scored for the rest of the game. They still would have won because the Niners only scored 6 points. But it was 17-0 by the end of the first quarter. But I wasn't able to turn the game on right away because I was busy. But I
Mm-hmm.
turned the TV on. I turned the computer on. It's 17-0. I mean, this game's over. It really.
Yeah. There was,
I'm,
it
I think the
was
49ers are the team that should be clowned the least because they have so. I feel like we say this every year with the Niners. They're so injured. They lost so many.
yeah.
They lost Kittle the previous week to, I think, a torn Achilles. They
Yeah.
lost McCaffrey and the backup tight end during the game, and McCaffrey played probably like 30%. He didn't look the same. And let me think, no Bosa. I don't think they had Warner.
No, they had no Warner.
At that point, winning a playoff game is honestly commendable.
Yeah.
I think Purdy had a great year. I think he's a great player. I think he earned that contract. I would have liked to have seen a little bit of a better fight. I'm not expecting Purdy to go out there and win that game on the
Yeah.
road against a loud Seattle crowd, an amazing Seattle team that's at home and rested. I'm not expecting Purdy to go win that game. I would have liked to have seen it be a little bit more competitive, at least score a few
Mm-hmm.
points. But we're not going to make fun of the 49ers. I think they had a good year. If they can just
Yeah.
stay healthy, they can contend. I mean, straight up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I
So
Yeah, I agree. I think that the 49ers, as you like to say, the clock struck midnight. I think that this was kind of the how do I say it? The cap of this team. Like this was this team's ceiling. I
the
feel like this
Niners,
was not, the Niners.
I don't
Or
think this specific team or this core,
this
like,
this specific team that's
oh,
riddled
okay.
with
Yeah.
injuries. Yeah, I don't. A healthy Niners team is probably a 1 seed.
With how
You
Seattle
know?
played, I'm not with how competitive that division is. I don't know if I agree. They're a contender, though. They're
Yeah,
definitely in the mix. I
I
don't think
think that
San
they could
Francisco
have.
is ever really in the mix here without injured they were, but I give them credit for
Yeah,
winning a playoff game on the road against the defending champions. So
I think they definitely could have been the one if they were perfect, if they were perfectly healthy, which I don't think. Which unfortunately, just with the way things have gone,
never
I don't
happens.
think
They're
they will.
always
I don't think they ever will be, but I think in an ideal world, the 49ers definitely have the talent to be a one seed. Uh, but yeah, the Seahawks just special just on special teams alone. Myers is a fantastic kicker. They have a great unit. Shaheed is a fantastic returner. Like they could set them up in positions to win games, like very, very easily. I think the Seahawks special teams unit is probably one of the best we've seen in years. Like
Well,
they've really
they
been able to do a lot.
well, McDonald came from a special teams head coach, and
Yeah.
his special teams is better than his own former head coach's special teams. But that can kind of take us to the Seahawks. Going into the
Yeah.
playoffs, I felt like I was being kind of bold by picking them to win the Super Bowl because at the end of the day, people just don't trust Darnold. Which I understand why, even though I think we can pencil him in as good now. I
Yeah.
I was kind of on the I didn't think Seattle was going to be good this year going into the year. I had him winning like maybe one of my worst takes ever. I had him winning like 6 games, and if I had said that during the show while we were doing this, I would be getting clowned about it to this day. Whenever people actually started to see it, so I'll wear that. I didn't think Seattle was going to be good because I thought that offense would struggle because I thought their line was bad and Darnold didn't maneuver the pocket like Geno Smith did. But I don't think anyone anticipated Geno Smith falling off the way he did. He's probably the worst or second worst quarterback in the league
Yeah.
this year. So, but the more the season goes by and the way the playoffs have unfolded, it feels like Seattle's year because they seem healthy. The oblique didn't seem to be bothering Darnold. I don't know what that was. He looked just fine. You have maybe the best receiver in the league now without JSN is running around. He's up there with Nakua and Jamar Chase at this point for the best receiver
Yeah.
in the league. They can bully you on the ground with Kenneth Walker. They won't have Charbonnet because he's hurt. And it just their defense that doesn't really have a lot of like star names. Like you know what I mean? They don't have a ton of like huge names on their defense,
Yeah.
but their defense is so ferocious. It's a lot like the Texans, except they don't
Yeah.
have the names Houston has. The Houston has like
Yeah.
Will Anderson. I don't think Seattle has a player on their defense that's as big of a name as
Yeah.
Will Anderson. But they're so consistent. They're aggressive. You can tell they're beautifully coached. The safety, Nick Emanwari, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He's kind of like McDonald's Kyle Hamilton. Not McDonald's is in the restaurant. Mike
Yeah.
McDonald's Kyle
Yeah.
Hamilton. His own version of him as this elite, hybrid, aggressive safety that can
Yeah.
just fly around the field and make stuff happen. And they're so deep. They're healthy. They're rested. They're at home. I won't say shocked. I really like their odds of winning the Super Bowl now. It feels like their year
Yeah. They're the most complete team. They've
by a
blessed.
lot. Like
They really are.
the Rams
And
don't have a defense, and we'll get to the Rams. The
yeah.
Broncos now don't have a quarterback, and the Patriots were
Yeah.
kind of bullish on this. Seattle
Hmm.
just dominates. I mean, that game wasn't close. It
Yeah.
never was going to be close.
Yeah.
But
I'm kind of like I'm a big I'm a big Stafford fan. Stafford's probably one of my favorite players ever. Uh, but I'm kind of just for the sake of the Patriots not winning the Super Bowl, I'm kind of pulling for the Seahawks right now because I like their odds more than the Rams. I still don't dislike the Rams odds against the Patriots. I just like the Seahawks a lot more
right,
right now. I think the Seahawks are the better team. And I initially picked the Rams to go all the way and win the Super Bowl, but I'm feeling Seattle now. I felt a shift.
they've been the best team in the league all
They're
year,
the
and
best. Yeah.
I honestly don't think it's been that. Or no, the Rams were up. It was Rams and Seahawks for a while. The
Yeah.
Colts were in that mix early in the year, but then of course they fell off after they lost their
Yeah.
quarterback. But over the last month or so of the regular season, that Rams defense took a dip. I think the Seahawks over the last month and have
Yeah.
easily been the best team in the league, and I don't think
Yeah,
it's
they
that
have.
close.
Hmm.
But speaking of the Rams, the last game we're going to talk about, Rams at Bears. I picked the Rams to win this game. I picked it before the playoffs started, and I picked it before the game started. I am not ashamed to admit that after Caleb Williams ran backwards and threw the touchdown to Cole Kmet, I was pulling for Chicago. I have nothing against the Rams. I like Stafford, McVay, Jared Verse out of Florida State. I'm a big fan of his. I have nothing against the Rams. I was pulling for Chicago to pull it off. But unfortunately, like you said about the Niners, the clock, I actually have it written down word for word. The clock struck midnight on Chicago, which it's unfortunate. And
Yeah.
we'll make it quick on the Rams because we just kind of talked about them. Their defense over the last month has been bad, but they do deserve credit for holding Chicago to 10 points on the road in that freezing cold weather when they're an indoor, sunny team playing in a
Hmm.
division full of other sunny teams and Arizona who plays indoors and
Yeah.
holding them to 10 points with like 30 seconds left until Caleb Williams just did what the Bears have been doing all year.
That was
But
crazy. That was insane.
I was like, I said it. I was like, it gets to a point where you're just different.
Yeah.
Is it true that if Brandon McManus made his kicks, the Bears would lost? Sure. Is it true that if the corner, I want to say it was Kobe Durant, I might be wrong. Is it true that if the corner didn't just take a dive, that doesn't happen? Sure. But it gets to a point where you're just different.
Yeah.
And similar to the 49ers, I don't think the Bears should be that ashamed of the season they had. This is probably the most exciting Bears season since 2010 when they made the
Oh
conference
yeah.
championship. This is their first playoff win since that year, actually, I
Yeah,
believe.
since the divisional round. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's actually not even arguable. But
Hmm.
that's where we kind of get to the Rams quickly. Do we think their defense is back, or at least back to what it can be, or do we think that was more about the Bears' offense and them, which is the other point, not taking the field goal? Because honestly, if the Bears kick the field goals, they win
Yeah.
almost certainly.
Yeah. I will never think it's a bad idea to like I don't I think you should just take the points before halftime. I don't think you should ever really go for it on fourth, especially when you're like when you have a really cheap shot field goal. You should not just go for it, go for it, go for it. Like I get it's against the Rams and you need the points, as many points as you can. But to me, that's why you take field goals in that situation. It's
It's a
still
low
early
scoring
on.
game.
Yeah, the weather's even for Bears players, it's still rough conditions that you're playing in. You've still got Sean McVay on the other side. You gotta just take the points. They should have just taken those field goals because then later on in the game, you're in a position where it's like now I have to go for it because I don't have these. I didn't rack up points early on, so I don't want to say that the Rams defense isn't back because they definitely looked better than they did the week before.
Good
But
takes.
yeah, like I don't know if they're kind of back enough to handle the Seahawks.
And that's where we get to
Yeah,
Chicago and specifically Caleb. Um, I think Caleb Williams has the tools to be a premier player in the NFL. And it's cool. They're calling him Iceman. Some of the plays he's made are awesome. And I understand why the NFL kind of majority is that Caleb Williams has arrived and he's going to be the answer in Chicago. And I really don't want to be the glass half empty guy because I'm rooting for someone like Caleb to be a superstar. I think a player of Caleb Williams' archetype being great is great for the league because that opens the door to so many fun highlights that will get new fans into the NFL. Not like the Bears need more fans. I mean, obviously they're one of the oldest franchises. Of course, it's Chicago. It's not like they need fans, but I think superstar Caleb Williams would be great for the NFL. But that being said, it was 3 interceptions, and one of them was in overtime. I don't know how
yeah,
much that interception was on DJ Moore for seemingly lollygagging on his route. But even if DJ Moore ran that route fully and if it was a cross towards the sideline, that would have been a risky throw. I'm kind of on the fence with Caleb. I don't want to definitively say he's amazing or he's going to be so because the highs are amazing. And my
yeah,
philosophy is you have two seasons to just show me flashes and prove to me that you can do stuff that justifies why we picked you so high. But by year
yeah,
three, you've got to be the guy. I don't think there's room in this state of the league that's more rushed. Someone like
Hmm.
Caleb to make the hard stuff look easy, but the easy stuff look hard.
Yeah.
So you can go now and kind of give your thoughts on Caleb, but I think it's
Yeah.
very nuanced.
Yeah. He had a pretty good year. I think he's the best quarterback that they've had definitely in our lifetimes.
Oh yeah,
Like
in
about
our parents'
100,
lifetimes,
yeah, 100. I was gonna say, for a team that like is so old and I guess historic, they don't have like that much to show for it. Like they've only won one Super Bowl. They haven't
they
been to a
were they were the best
they
franchise pre Super Bowl.
pre
Like when it
Super
was
Bowl.
NFL
Yeah,
championships and it was George
yeah,
Hallis. They were they
yeah,
might have been the premier franchise along with the Packers.
yeah,
Super
yeah.
Bowl
They've
era, it's been rough, honestly.
yeah. That's what I mean. Like they have like a like a rich history, I guess, but it's like it's not exact. Like the Packers have a rich history as well pre merger, and also have done a lot post merger. Same with like who else? The Cowboys. The Bears just a lot of the Bears history is pre-merger. As
Yeah,
apart from like 85 and 86. It really like they really haven't had like that many amazing years. 2006 was a good run, Devin Hester and everything, but they haven't had like an like elite team where they weren't like amazing in 2010 when they made it to the game when they made it to the conference championship.
I think the stat is, that's the year the Calvin Johnson rule happened when he seemingly caught the touchdown, ball hit the ground, ruled incomplete.
Hmm.
Had Chicago lost that game, they would have been from the 2 seed to out of the playoffs.
Really?
They went 11-5 and got the
Yeah,
two
because
seed.
the Packers were 10-6 at the sixth seed.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
believe if Chicago lost that game, they would have missed the playoffs at 10 and
Yeah.
6.
Yeah.
So and
But
they got to host the 7-9 Seahawks, who they beat.
yeah, yeah.
And that was their
Uh
last playoff win until like last week.
yeah. But I think you have to yeah, just roll with Caleb.
Yeah, obviously.
He's been able to make these great plays. He's led some great comebacks. He's definitely shown enough. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely have to want to see more.
So that's kind
I
of all we
think
have to say on the
yeah.
Bears, unless you want to get something else off.
No, it's just I think that they've put together a good team and they've just got to keep going.
But Ben, take the field goal
Yes.
once in a
Every
while.
and same with like Dan Campbell and like you guys just take the field goals.
I know it's easy for us to say now that they lost, but like, dude,
Yeah,
once in a while, you
but you're
have a good
gonna
kicker. You have a
the
good
thing.
kicker.
Yeah, especially kicking in Chicago.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
yeah.
And the
You're
one other thing, Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen. He's
yeah.
their defensive coordinator. He's honestly really good.
Hmm.
He not a good head coach, but a great defensive coordinator. The play call on 3rd and 6, where the cushion. I don't know if you saw that. I think it was the last third down. The Rams got an overtime before they kicked the game-winning field goal. That cushion was unreal. Dennis Allen deserves a lot of credit for taking Sean McVay to task. I mean, they had the
Yeah,
Rams offense in a box at points, but
yeah,
man, why? What was that cushion? I have reason to believe the Bears will be right back in it next year. I also have reason to believe they're going to regress like the Commanders did because they did have there
hmm
were some Broncos vibes where they were sneaking by a lot,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
that's where I guess I don't want to say concerns. I think Caleb's going to be pretty good, but that's where kind of the questions about next year's Bears are because I don't think it's a guarantee the Bears are back next year.
Yeah,
But if you're a Bears fan, just enjoy the season you had. It was a great
yeah,
year and it was
yeah,
fun. The Bears, even when they're good, are kind of boring, right? Because they
yeah,
never really have the exciting quarterback. There's the defense,
yeah,
hard nosed team. You had a fun year and you won a playoff game as your hated rival. And just
yeah,
enjoy it. It was a great year.
yeah. Good year, competitive game against a great team, competitive loss. Yeah, but you're gonna want those extra 6 to 12 points at the end of a game. You know,
So
instead of just
that being
going for
said,
it.
yeah.